Coming up, Tzu Chi volunteers hold aid distributions for needy flood survivors in Haiti. We join Tzu Chi volunteers in Seattle as they celebrate their branch's 21st birthday. Welcome to DaAi Headlines. I'm Mary Lee. Thank you for joining us. In early November, heavy storms in the Caribbean brought about flooding in the countries of Haiti, the Dominican Republic, and Puerto Rico. In Haiti's Port-au-Prince and Cap Haitien, over 6,000 homes were flooded. Tzu Chi volunteers thus mobilized to conduct a disaster assessment and a relief distribution in 2 slums near Port-au-Prince. In total, 300 folding beds and 50 sacks of rice were given to disaster survivors. Besides Port-au-Prince, the capital of Haiti, Cap Haitien, the second largest city in Haiti, also suffered severe flooding as a result of rainstorms in early November. Just like these waterlogged items, residents' lives have yet to return to normal.
The situation after the flood is terrible. We are victims of the flood and don't have anything left. There is no food or water to drink.
Squeezing water out of his mattress, Noel Chesnell's hands never stopped during the interview, as without a dry mattress, he can only sleep on the cold, damp floor at night. Working with Taiwan's ambassador to Haiti, the local government, and Father Tzu Chi from the Little Schools of Father Bowen, Tzu Chi volunteers held distributions for the needy in 2 of the affected slums near Port-au-Prince. Waiting in an orderly fashion to receive their beds, recipients first listened to the 2 ways the Tzu Chi folding bed could be used. Eager to take the beds home, residents break into big smiles, knowing that they will finally be able to get a good night's sleep. In Vietnam's Bien Đông province, since mid-October, Tzu Chi volunteers have been providing free dinners for underprivileged students of a tutoring program 3 times a week. Thanks to Tzu Chi's assistance, the children don't have to study on empty stomachs, and many were inspired to go vegetarian.
After 2 days of anticipation, the blue and white-clad angels are finally here to visit the children of a tutoring program in Bien Đông province. Since mid-October, local Tzu Chi volunteers have been offering free dinners for needy children here 3 times a week.
I want to thank the Tzu Chi volunteers for their endless support. Thanks to the meal program, students don't have to study on empty stomachs, which has improved their concentration and general state of health.
The tutoring program was established in 2012 to give youngsters living below the poverty line a chance at an education. After discovering that many children come to class hungry, the volunteers decided to help. By working with the catering company, volunteers ensured the children are now able to enjoy free vegetarian meals.
Sometimes when I come here to visit the children, they'll tell me the soup is delicious. Their compliments and smiles give me the motivation to continue on. In the future, I will cook even more nutritious and delicious meals for them.
Besides offering free dinners, Tzu Chi volunteers also pass on Tzu Chi's eating etiquette and encourage students to go meatless.
This is my 3rd year studying in the program. I have never eaten any meals here before, so I want to thank Tzu Chi for offering these free dinners.
Thank you, Tzu Chi aunts and uncles, for providing free dinners. I also want to thank our educators for teaching us free of charge.
The vegetarian meals are delicious. I'm very happy that the volunteers care about us.
Seeing these children enjoying their meals and having a good time with their friends, the volunteers' hearts are filled with warmth and happiness.
In Singapore, it is estimated that 1 in 10 residents is at least 65 years or older. As the country has one of Asia's fastest aging population, the need for home care services is growing rapidly. To make sure all the senior residents in the country are well taken care of, the Agency for Integrated Care has started to work with various charity organizations to offer patients the chance for medical care close to home. Since April of this year, the local Tzu Chi chapter has been working with AIC and has already provided quality medical care to more than 50 patients. Recently, a press conference was held to mark the collaboration.
1, 2, 3.
To help poor sick patients in Singapore, the Agency for Integrated Care, together with the local Tzu Chi chapter, launched its home care services program. In the next 3 years, 320 impoverished and ill residents will be taken under Tzu Chi's wing.
Home care will play an increasingly important role in supporting our seniors to age in place. We are doing our utmost to work with providers like Tzu Chi to increase the accessibility and quality of home care for our seniors. I would once again like to congratulate Tzu Chi on the launch of home care spaces.
The Tzu Chi Singapore chapter is the 15th charity organization to work with the Agency for Integrated Care.
We understand that Tzu Chi delivers very good quality, compassionate and very holistic care. So we are looking forward to working with Tzu Chi over the next couple of years.
Since April of this year, the two organizations have been working hand in hand. In just 6 months, Tzu Chi has already provided more than 50 sick and needy residents with free medical services.
With home care, we expand our clinic into the neighborhood, So only when you go to home care, when we understand the whole environment, so we should get more and more people to do.
Among those who benefited from the program is Senior Lin, whose story was covered by the local media. With the help of the local government and the Tzu Chi Foundation, patients like Grandpa Ling are now able to receive quality medical care close to home. Now, with a custom doorbell, Senior Lin would know that Tzu Chi volunteers are here to care for him.
Today, we first take you back to September 2009 when Typhoon Kansana, one of the strongest typhoons that the Philippines had faced in 40 years, swept through the country, causing massive damage in its wake. Following the typhoon in the hard-hit city of Marikina, Tzu Chi initiated what was to be the country's first cash reward program. That program, which mobilized over 84,000 people over 18 days, not only helped Marikina avoid an outbreak of infectious disease, but also gave its residents the hope and means to rebuild their homes and communities themselves. Now, 5 years on, following Typhoon Fengwang, volunteers have kicked off another cash reward program in the city of Marikina.
In September of 2014, Typhoon Fengwang barreled into the Philippines, causing massive flooding in the city of Marikina. Residents fled for their lives, finding shelter in schools that had been transformed into emergency shelters. Overnight, 400 families filled up this shelter in Marikina's Nangka district.
The bathrooms should be clean, but most people don't bother to clean up. However, we Tzu Chi volunteers know the necessity of cleanness and try to maintain it.
Marilyn, currently training to be a certified Tzu Chi volunteer, was among those that lost her home to Typhoon Fengwang. However, her primary focus remains on helping these refugees find a bit of comfort.
When Typhoon Kansana hit, I only cared about my own family. Now that I am a Tzu Chi volunteer, after this typhoon, I first found a safe place for my family and then went out to help others.
From recipient to giver, learning to give back to their community has also been this group of local volunteers. The start of this beautiful connection is rooted in a similar tragedy 5 years ago. On September 26, 2009, Typhoon Kansana, one of the strongest typhoons in the Philippines had faced in 40 years, swept across the country. From the air, Tzu Chi volunteers reviewed what was left of the city of Marikina. Once the floodwaters, which reached one-story high in some areas, receded, mud and garbage choked the streets.
There was too much garbage there. We needed to get rid of it. Otherwise, there would be an outbreak of disease. So we started gathering volunteers and heavy machinery.
What followed was an intensive effort by Tzu Chi to clean up the city's streets, as well as to provide food, aid, and medical care.
Before 2009, we used distributions to bring aid to communities. However, following Katrina, the master asked us to start using cash for work programs instead.
Soon after, cash for work programs were set up in Marikina's Nangka, Malande, and Tumana barangays. Participants earned 400 pesos a day, cleaning up their own communities.
The first day, 32 came. At 5 p.m., we paid them. The next day, more arrived. On the 10th day, we had 10,000.
The cleanup, which lasted for 18 days, mobilized a total of 84,000 people, cleaned up a city, and left gratitude in the hearts of its residents.
Before work, we would first introduce our efforts, hold a prayer, and then get to work. At night, we would then allow them to share their feelings to help them realize how lucky they were. In that way, we try to inspire them.
3 months after the typhoon, Tzu Chi held a blessing ceremony in the Marikina Sports Stadium. Altogether, 25,000 came to participate and donate.
It was amazing to see. That love was the springboard for our ideals, the Master's love and compassion, and the selfless work of the volunteers. It is one of the biggest strengths of Tzu Chi.
As candles lit up the night sky, residents were no longer disaster victims, but future bodhisattvas once and for all. Now, 5 years later, volunteers are back in Marikina with another Cash for Work program to clean up after Typhoon Fengwang. At the head of a long line of volunteers is a local volunteer from Marikina. Together, they are healing this land with love.
Turning our camera to the United States, this year marks the 21st anniversary of the Tzu Chi Seattle branch. Over the past 2 decades, volunteers have continued to serve local communities and reached out in times of need. In celebration of their 21 years, volunteers in the branch organized a charity sale on November 8th, during which volunteers raised funds for the construction of their new chapter house.
The spirit of great love echoes through the voices of Tzu Chi volunteers. Celebrating 21 years since the establishment of the Tzu Chi Seattle branch, volunteer Liu Wei-Chen came all the way from Northern California to deliver his blessings.
We are seeing more and more natural and man-made disasters around the world. Just this year alone, Tzu Chi took part in many emergency relief efforts following disasters, including landslides and fires. We have witnessed Tzu Chi's spirit of great love flourishing here in Seattle. This is very good for our communities, as it highlights the goodness of human nature, which is the very basic principle of humanity.
I always knew Tzu Chi had a passion for helping people. I thought I knew a lot about the culture of Tzu Chi Foundation. Today was even more.
Celebrating this major milestone, volunteers also organized a charity fair to raise funds for the construction of their new chapter house. Items sold at the fair featured high-quality second-hand items. Volunteers closed the event with a sign language performance to bring hearts together and to establish a bridge of love.
Also in the United States, Manhattan's Riverside Church is one of the oldest churches in New York City and is famous for its elaborate Gothic architecture. In celebration of the 25th anniversary of Tzu Chi in the United States, volunteers hosted a charity concert on November 8th inside one of New York's most prominent religious landmarks.
Situated in the Manhattan neighborhood of Morningside Heights, the magnificent Riverside Church has been standing for almost a century. Celebrating 25 years of Tzu Chi in the United States, volunteers are hosting a charity concert at the church. The coming together of Buddhism and Christianity epitomized a divine blend of the two religions.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Tzu Chi Charity A Cappella Night.
The
6 of us performing for you on stage are all Christians, but since we are attending a Tzu Chi event and we are inside a church, there is one song we would like to sing for you, and that is Thinking of Master Beings.
Right after Hurricane Sandy, the Tzu Chi Foundation came into our neighborhood. Since then, I've been in contact with the Tzu Chi Foundation, and they invited myself and my wife down to the concert today. And it was amazing. It was beautiful. Absolutely beautiful.
What I know that they did in the aftermath of Hurricane Sandy, I was very, very impressed. The real kernel of my religion is that love is central as well. Love and humility. And I think that you get the same thing with Tzu Chi Foundation.
Very impressed with what Tzu Chi did 2 years ago in my neighborhood after Sandy. It was beautiful. It was a wonderful concert. I enjoyed the music very much.
The concert unified hearts and compassion, brought together people from all walks of life. In a charity concert that transcended boundaries, religions, languages, and nationalities, the 1,200 audience members sincerely prayed for world peace and love among all mankind.
Continuing our look back at the last 20 years of Tzu Chi schools in Taiwan, to safeguard Hualian's education mission, Master Zhen Yan established a vocational nursing school in 1989. Then, to give indigenous children a chance at higher education, the school began a program giving indigenous students who excel in school a full scholarship. Next, we meet two students, one from the first graduating class of the program and one currently studying in the program, to see how a Tzu Chi education has changed their lives.
No matter if it's work, society, or family relationships, getting an education in a Tzu Chi school really shaped me. I would be a completely different person had I not studied at Tzu Chi.
If she hadn't met Tzu Chi, Lin Xiuying says she very well would have been a housewife and not a nursing teacher like she is now. It all started the moment she got accepted into Tzu Chi's nursing vocational school. 20 years ago, most indigenous families were poor. For some, jobs were a better option than continuing on to higher education. For others, obstacles came in a different form.
At the time in eastern Taiwan, many indigenous girls would be sold before they reached their middle school graduation.
慈济护专85学年度起，受教育部委托设立原住民免费生译班。
The class was filled with indigenous students, so they were only competing with each other.
Because I received a government scholarship and wouldn't have to worry about a job upon graduation, my mother thought it would be a good idea for me, as it would mean one less child they have to worry about, so I went.
In order to relieve the financial burden of her family, Lin Xiuying chose to study nursing at Tzu Chi's nursing vocational school and was among the school's first graduating class. However, when competing with students who were not indigenous, she had to work harder than the rest.
Of course, other students had an easier time in school, so we felt ashamed. We were ashamed that no matter what we did, we weren't able to get grades as good as them or something like that.
We always have tutoring available to give the indigenous students the help they need to catch up with the other students.
Back then, I was under a lot of pressure, and my parents were worried that they sent me to such a difficult school. In hindsight, I'm very grateful for the opportunity to grow up in that environment. I felt like I made a right choice.
The full scholarship for students provide money for textbooks as well as living expenses and even furniture for the dormitory. A current student of the nursing program at Tzu Chi College of Technology is Xie Rongrong, who is in her 4th year of the program.
The school has an additional 20,000 NT dollar scholarship for the top 5 students of the class. So since my family isn't that well off, I give the money to my family to use. This way their financial burden is lessened.
A clause of the scholarship is that students must take up a post at a school-assigned workplace upon graduation. Thus, currently, Xie Rongrong uses her spare time to do some nursing assistant work at Hualien Tzu Chi Hospital.
In the past, when my younger brother was in the hospital, I saw how much effort went into taking care of him by the nurses, and I felt that I can take care of people like that as I take care of my family like that. So I thought I'd try it out and see for myself.
No matter if it's passing on their expertise or having the courage to chase their dream, these indigenous children are flourishing in all corners of Taiwan. In Taiwan's Taidong, Tzu Chi volunteers recently organized a New Shoot Scholarship Awards ceremony at their local Jingsi Hall. This year, a total of 158 underprivileged yet deserving students received Tzu Chi's assistance. Tzu Chi volunteers hope the scholarship can inspire youngsters to study hard and contribute to society in the future.
A home with a roof that leaks whenever it rains. This is where New Shoe Scholarship recipient Xiao Mingshou and her family call home. Fortunately, with the help at Tzu Chi, now the family has a safer living environment. To reciprocate the NGO's kindness, Xiao and her mother vowed to become volunteers.
The Tzu Chi aunts have been taking good care of my family. They came and fixed our home. Now it is much more convenient for my grandma to walk around.
Before, I didn't know what to do once my daughter grows up. Now I have found the right path.
The 2014 Tzu Chi New Shoe Scholarship Award ceremony for Taidong District was held at the local Jingsi Hall. This year, 158 students received Tzu Chi's assistance.
With so many negative influences in our society, events such as Tzu Chi's New Shoes Scholarship Award ceremonies definitely have a positive effect on society.
By handing out New Shoe Scholarship, Tzu Chi volunteers hope to inspire impoverished students to overcome obstacles and become givers in the near future.
Recently in Canada, the Tzu Chi Toronto branch hosted a ceremony to celebrate the completion of relocating to a new branch office, where participants from all walks of life came to mark the occasion with Tzu Chi volunteers. Bringing their blessings to the event, all participants were glad to see how much Tzu Chi has flourished locally since its establishment 20 years ago. We will leave you with these images at the end of the show. Thank you for watching DaAi Headlines. See you next time.